No, in fact, I see the selection of Biden as a stunning betrayal of the anti-war movement that enabled Obama to get the nomination.
Campaigned on a pledge to end the Iraq War. An examination of his top foreign policy advisors is raising concern among some in the anti-war movement. That's because several of the key people who are advising Obama on foreign policy were at the center of some of the most violent actions of the Clinton administration in the 1990s.
To the foreign policy team that Senator Obama's putting together, many of these people were considered hawkish Democrats during the 90s.
Hawkish Democrats.
Guinness is out of Iraq.
Well, Joe Biden, they're saying, is going to be the big foreign policy guy in the White House.
I've been around for 38 years in the Congress. Vice presidents never counted that much.
I have to press you on this issue because of the district you represent. Several of these people put forward the myth that Saddam Hussein had weapons. See it as a sort of troubling development that many of these people are people that you've been hounding them for a continued U.S. presence in Iraq for the foreseeable future?
No.
None at all?
We passed a law that said we're not going to have permanent
talking to delegates at the RNC this week is that Sarah Palin has passed the Christian rights litmus test. And for the GOP base, that may be the most important fact about her. We sent Democracy Now! Correspondent Jeremy Scahill inside the RNC to take the pulse of what delegates think and how Palin has spiced up an otherwise
Sarah Palin fired up the base with her address at the Republican National Convention. She was the big act in a lineup that included Rudy Giuliani, Mike Huckabee, and Mitt Romney. It was by far the most energetic evening at the RNC to date. The big buzz on the floor here in St. Paul is all about Sarah Palin.
Yeah, outstanding choice. I mean, I'm thrilled to have a woman on this ticket.
What does your sign say there?
Love Sarah.
Did you make that yourself?
I did.
And what's the message you're sending there? Are you asking her for a date?
No, not at all. I just want everybody to know that I think she's the best thing to happen to the Republican Party in years.
And the feminist issue, yeah.
I think, once again, to continue on what we said about fate, you never know when fate is going to play into your hands. Some people say it's the Almighty God that creates these things, but in this case now, this issue about her teenage daughter becoming pregnant is once again a way, to me, to bring this issue to the limelight. When is the last time this has been discussed at the dinner table?
We met many Republican women who were very enthusiastic about Palin, so much so that they credit her with bringing them back into the game for the general election.
He needed to go after the Reagan Democrats. He got that with Palin. He needed to go after the evangelical conservative base, which was very disenfranchised, that was very mistrustful of McCain, and which I am a participant in that.
McCain chosen someone other than Palin, you think, or any of the other people, rather, you're saying Romney or Huckabee?
You wouldn't have gotten this buzz. Sarah Palin's pick is also going to reach into a disabilities group that we have never actually actively as a party reached into, and as a mother of a child with disabilities, that is an entire an entire base group that actually, I believe just by default, the Democrats have always been able to make inroads into that the Republicans have not. And so that opens up that entire window of opportunity to be able to get into that community and truly start to reach out and organize. In fact, I was just talking to a gentleman today that organizes within that community, and we're all excited.
It seems clear from talking to delegates here at the RNC that the pick of Sarah Palin was intended to bring back in disenfranchised evangelicals who had misgivings about John McCain, particularly on the issue of abortion.
Isn't it interesting how the progressive coverage, the independent media's coverage of the first week of the conventions, and especially the presidential, vice presidential pick, was dominated by themes of partisan betrayal, in the context of Obama's shift to the right, and how Joe Biden is really the corporate candidate and the corporate representative in Obama, on the Obama ticket, and how he is the representative of the war party. On the other hand, a week later, what we heard was all about pandering to the Christian right, which is a fundamentally strategic decision if you think about it. So there's no problem acknowledging that the Republican Party is very astute and smart, and the Christian right especially does not care about their politics, about fundamental, about substantive issues, just as long as their guy gets into office. Of course, the very same strategic decision by Obama is regarded as a complete betrayal of the anti-war movement. And Obama does not get the benefit of the doubt that John McCain does from the Christian right. And he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt because the progressive netroots intelligentsia and the anti-war movement is incapable of looking at electoral politics as a strategic, a series of strategic decisions. In other words, electoral politics on the left is played out as an pure ideological game. You're either a corporate candidate, a stooge for corporations, or you are Dennis Kucinich. Now, of course, this poses problems, and we saw the Jeremy Scahill's being baffled by the fact that Dennis Kucinich is still a Democrat. He's not running as an independent. Why is that? Why is Dennis Kucinich not running as an independent? And to understand that, I think progressives have to understand the meaning of the word progressive. What is not getting discussed in independent media, especially democracy now, is the fact that between 1932 and 1968, the Democratic Party had an exclusive grip on power. And it gave us Social Security, Medicare, the Great Society, all the civil rights laws, all the union laws, and everything we know today as U.S. government. And this was possible because of a coalition, a very strong coalition, called the New Deal Coalition, which made it very simple, very easy to get Democrats elected into office. But it was also something that was not completely progressive. Woodrow Wilson is the first progressive Democrat, and he is probably one of the most reactionary American presidents and one of the most openly colonialist American presidents on record the last 100 years, who nevertheless signed very important legislation into law that makes it possible that we have unions. The Clayton Act, 8-hour workday are some of the examples. But he also conducted colonial war against Latin America and the Caribbeans. And one of his war planners, of course, was a young Assistant Secretary to the Navy, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was himself a establishment candidate, an establishment New York, the oldest New York family, the Dutch von Roosevelts, and was not really a dove. Well, Roosevelt was a very progressive individual, but he was very much vetted and approved by the war party.
If there is one Democrat who has seldom shied away from criticizing his colleagues for their support of invasions, bombings, and wars, it's Dennis Kucinich, who ran against Barack Obama for the Democratic nomination. He vocally opposed the policy decisions of many of Obama's key advisors when they were in the White House in the 1990s.
Well, I'll still oppose him, but I'm going to work to get Barack Obama elected because we have to take a new direction. Unless we shift away from the neocons and their control, we're looking at more war, no question about it. So, a lot of us aren't going to be particularly satisfied, but so what? The voters made their choice in the primaries. We've got to respect that choice. And what I'm going to be doing here tomorrow at the convention is to talk about the economy and look at those issues around which we can be united. Be certain that under a Democratic administration, if that administration is showing aggressive tendencies or is putting us on the edge of a war again or not taking us into a direction of peace, I am not going to be quiet. I mean, I'm going to continue to talk about the direction America should go in. But we can't let those differences that we have right now cause us to fracture at a time then we really have to bring the change to the White House. So we have to be able to tolerate the differences for the moment But make no mistake about it, when the Democrats take the White House, if they're right on foreign policy, I'll back them, and if they're not, I'll oppose them.
You talk to a lot of people outside, they say we want Dennis Kucinich to run as an independent. Why not?
Well, you know what? I've made my choice. I'm inside the Democratic Party. I'm going to do everything I can to make the Democratic Party relevant and to make the Democratic Party responsive. I'm aware of the concerns that people have about this party. I'm well aware of them. That's why I ran for president in the first place.